Alright, so hopefully light enough. I'm going to talk about from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, Book 5, The Dweller of Unal. And what I'll be talking about is about the Sphinx and some of the mysteries and secrets of Atlantis. So the Dweller of Unal is this cosmic force master of Earth, and the Dweller kind of lives in this alternate space and astral projects with his mind into the Earth from time to time to see what's going on. And Atlantis was this really incredible society that at one point began to kind of disintegrate within its value systems and the things that were going on, misuse of technologies and stuff like that. And the Dweller came into Earth through the projection, saw what was going on, and realized that Atlantis needed to be destroyed. And so Thoth, which was a man who actually created his own ascension here on Earth, as opposed to just being one of the masters or messengers that already had ascended, was called by the Dweller to go into Atlantis and gather up all the technologies and instruments and ancient texts and important, valuable things that had all the information that Atlantis had actually accumulated and gathered through, at one point, a very healthy system, but had began to misuse these technologies and these machines. In fact, one of the things they mentioned was space warping machines, which I think is really interesting, which to me probably speaks a little bit to time travel and stuff like that. So Thoth was sent to go gather up all these instruments, all these machines, all this technology, all these ancient texts, and to gather them up into a spaceship that was provided, and then take that spaceship to Kem, or as we now call Egypt, and so that they would be preserved while the Dweller called upon the seven lords, which are the lords of the cycles, to sink Atlantis into the ocean. And I'm not going to go into big details about what I think Atlantis is or what that means, but I do think that what happened is Atlantis and all the kind of darker powers were sunk, and the channels within which the darker powers, which were misusing these technologies and things, the channels within which these darker powers and entities and energies and spirits were coming in, the channels were closed at that point. And then Thoth took this spaceship and he took it to Egypt, and he buried the spaceship, interestingly enough, under the Sphinx. And I'm going to read the passage where this actually specifically says this. I'm actually going to read first the notes that were written on the actual passage, so that you have a better idea of what's really going on. Then I'll read some of the actual passage. So basically, Thoth arrived in Egypt and conquered the barbarians. Don't take that word too literally. He then buried the spaceship and certain implements of warfare beneath a great rock, which was then carved as the Sphinx. When the time arrives that invaders from space attack the Earth, it will be brought forth to repel them. And then Thoth gives a key for opening this hidden passage from the pyramid to the Sphinx, the same key which will open the doorway to the room from which opens the path to Amenti, which is the halls of Amenti, which is kind of like the halls to it's kind of difficult to explain, but the halls of Amenti are kind of like the mental and also somewhat spiritual passageways to the great unknown and the places of the masters, the ascended masters where they dwell. So, reading right here from the actual text, I'm going to say, it says, okay. So, up then we rose on the wings of the morning. High we arose above the temple, leaving behind the three and the dweller, deep in the halls neath the temple. Down neath the waves sank the great temple, closing the pathway to the lords of the cycles. Yet ever to him who has knowing, open shall be the path to Amenti. Fast fled we then on the wings of the morning, fled to the land of the children of Chem. There by my power I conquered and I ruled them, raised I to light the children of Chem. Deep neath the rocks I buried my spaceship, waiting the time when man might be free. Over the spaceship erected a marker in the form of a lion, yet like unto a man. There neath the image rests yet my spaceship, forth to be brought when need shall arise. Know ye, O man, that far in the future invaders shall come from out of the deep. Then awake ye who have wisdom, bring forth my ship and conquer with ease. Deep neath the image lies my secret. Search and find in the pyramid I built. Each to the other is the keystone, each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I leave behind me. Seek the doorway to life. Seek, and the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in the passage that ends in a wall. Use thou the key of the seven, and open to thee the pathway will fall. Now unto thee I have given my wisdom, now unto thee I have given my way. Follow the pathway, solve thou my secrets. Unto thee I have shown the way. Okay, so last year I received some knowledge from a child who was only 6 years old, and revealed to me, before I'd even read any of the Emerald Tablets, before I'd even found that any of this information actually existed, a 6-year-old told me that there was a Sphinx buried under the Sphinx that was going to save the world. And I began to do a lot of research, going on places like Reddit and just forum places, Quora and stuff like that, searching and looking to see if anybody could validate the information that I'd been provided by this child. And I really, really looked, and it took months, and I found nothing until somebody mentioned that they had heard something about it. And yet still there was no confirmation until finally I decided to actually read. I had touched into the Emerald Tablets, but I had never actually read them specifically. I'd just gone through different passages, and until I actually started to read the Emerald Tablets and I found that passage, it blew my mind that a child who could by no other means have known this knowledge, knew this knowledge, and that the knowledge was confirmed by one of my favorite topics, which is by Thoth, who is essentially an ultimate master alchemist, and Hermes, which is, you know, the incarnation of Thoth and Hermeticism. So anyhow, I wanted to share that bit of information because I think it's extremely important, and even doing research now, I still don't see a lot of people posting a lot about the fact that under the Sphinx is the potential of a spaceship which is capable of a level of warfare that could actually deflect invaders that could come from space to attack the Earth. And I wanted to share that information with you because I think it's really important, and it'd be cool if people could talk more about it, because I think it's fascinating, and the correlations that I just mentioned fascinate me even more. So that's my topic for today. I haven't been on here in a long time. I've kind of been like off grid, but I'm back for a little bit, and I hope that that sparked your interest, and I hope to see you next time. As always, much love.